Welcome everyone to Stories Behind the Music. Today we're talking about A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles film and album. How did this become the perfect fusion of commerce and art? Let's look at the background. In 1964, the Beatles were at an unprecedented global peak of influence. Their music and image sparked the Beatlemania phenomenon that swept the world, a craze whose intensity and scale surpassed all previous precedents of idol worship, including Rudy Valdez, Frank Sinatra, and Elvis Presley. The band landed in the United States in early 1964, and their televised performance on The Ed Sullivan Show drew approximately 73 million viewers, cementing their international status and quickly dominating the US music charts. So, someone thought, could we make a quick buck with a movie? A film studio named United Artists, eager to capitalize on this massive wave of popularity, proposed a business deal, a low-budget, fast-paced film to promote the band's records. This was a typical commercial maneuver designed to quickly cash in at the height of Beatlemania. But guess what? What started as a purely commercial project under the innovative direction of Richard Lester and the natural charisma of the Beatles unexpectedly became an artistic masterpiece. That's what we're going to analyze. Why was it so brilliant? Look at the studio. United Artists. They were purely motivated by profit. United Artists provided the A Hard Day's Night film project with a low budget of only $500,000 and an extremely tight production schedule. Filming began on the 2nd of March 1964 and was completed by the 24th of April, lasting only about 7 weeks. This rushed commercial motive required director Richard Lester to adopt the most cost-effective filming methods possible. Among the many budget-cutting decisions, the most notable was the use of black and white cinematography. This choice was initially driven purely by cost, as black and white film stock was cheaper than color. However, this seemingly utilitarian commercial decision inadvertently spawned a unique artistic effect. The black and white imagery not only lent the film a new wave documentary aesthetic, making it look more like a serious art film than a cheap commercial product, but it also resonated with the contemporary aesthetics of the British and French new wave cinemas, adding unexpected artistic depth to the film. Furthermore, black and white photography had a subtle advantage. It reduced the visual distraction caused by color, allowing the audience's attention to focus more on the characters themselves, their expressions, and the music running through the film, thereby intensifying the film's emotion and energy. Richard Lester's unique directorial style was key to the film's success. He fused seemingly disparate styles, including French New Wave, silent film, surrealist humor, and documentary filmmaking techniques. The film depicts the band's frantic life after achieving fame, infused with humor and a spirit of rebellion. He was deeply influenced by the comedy show The Goon Show, which had a profound impact on the Beatles, especially John Lennon. Lester borrowed this fast-paced, absurd sense of humor, shaping the film's overall tone. The film is set over 2 days, depicting the Beatles' busy lives in London as they deal with crazy fans, the media, and various unexpected events. The story revolves around the band members' daily lives, rehearsals, and performances, interspersed with various troubles created by Paul's grandfather, adding comedic elements. The film lacks a complex plot, instead showcasing the Beatles' charm and the pop culture frenzy of the time through a light-hearted and humorous approach. Lester employed a host of groundbreaking cinematic techniques in the film, which were not just for showmanship, but represented a complete subversion of the traditional musical film format. He used jump cuts, handheld camera work, multi-camera shooting, and faster slow motion to capture the Beatles' energy, creating a dynamic and vibrant feeling. This non-linear narrative and fast-paced editing, combined with musical performance, stood in sharp contrast to the dull plot, driven musical films starring rock stars like Elvis that preceded it. By seamlessly connecting song performances with visual narrative, Lester essentially invented the music video format within the film. It was this contribution that later earned him the title of Father of the Music Video from MTV. The film's style and techniques not only pioneered a new film genre, but also provided a direct source of inspiration for subsequent music videos, constituting its most direct and profound impact on pop culture. The film's screenwriter, Alan Owen, spent several days with the band members to create authentic dialogue, attempting to capture their lives and unique Liverpool dialect. This resulted in a script filled with the band members' characteristic wit and banter. Ultimately, the film successfully created distinct, Well-known public personas for the four members, John as the cynical, sharp-tongued satirist, Paul as the charming, easygoing, pretty boy, George as the cool, nonconformist dude, and Ringo as the lovable, slightly melancholic simpleton. This is a phenomenon full of contradictions. The film presents reality in the form of a mockumentary, yet these real personalities were deliberately exaggerated and typecast by the script. However, it was this carefully constructed pseudo-reality that made the audience feel closer to the Beatles and successfully define their public image for decades to come. The film uses a playful manner to distinguish between the flesh and blood Beatles and the flat, two-dimensional avatars familiar to fans, which were reproduced and disseminated by the media. The film's theme is also full of rebellion. Through a series of comedic conflicts, it showcases the Beatles' confrontations with various authority figures, such as police, television producers, arrogant advertisers, and stuffy gentlemen. This underlying humour and rebellion perfectly matched the youth rebellious spirit about to erupt in the 60s. The film's mockery of authority and yearning for freedom was not derived from some carefully considered political statement, but a natural expression, which inadvertently captured and foreshadowed the cultural upheaval that was about to take place across the entire era. Moving from the film to the album, A Hard Day's Night is a major milestone in the Beatles' musical career. It is the band's first and only album composed entirely of original Lennon-McCartney songs, with no cover tracks. All 13 songs were written solely or jointly by the pair. Before this, they had covered other artists' songs. But this album marked the beginning of their era of original songwriting. The album title was inspired by a moment of spontaneity. After a long day of recording and filming, a weary Ringo Starr casually said, "It's been a hard day," and upon noticing the night descending, he added, "Hard day's night," thereby creating this poetic and comedic phrase. This unintended phrase was adopted by director Richard Lester as the film title, and subsequently became the iconic name for the album and the title track. The album's recording was hastily completed over 9 non-consecutive days, squeezed in between touring and film shooting. This sense of urgency is reflected in the overall energy of the music, showcasing the fervent studio vitality the band possessed at their creative peak. The songs on the album show significant progress in structure and arrangement by the Lennon-McCartney duo. Any song on the album is noteworthy. Take the title track, A Hard Day's Night, for example. The opening chord is practically an icon in rock history. Played by George Harrison on his 12-string guitar, the chord is musically complex, a layering of G major, F major, and D minor. It might sound a bit strange, but it's this feeling of both familiar and unfamiliar that instantly grabs the listener's attention. What does this indicate? This bold harmonic choice marked a leap in the Lennon-McCartney songwriting approach, moving beyond their earlier, purely pop compositions, and foreshadowing their more complex musical explorations to come. Then there are Can't Buy Me Love, and I Love Her. Can't Buy Me Love is a fusion of blues and pop, combining the traditional 12-bar blues structure with innovative pop melodies. This song demonstrates the Beatles' maturity, both lyrically and musically. The lyrics talk about money, not being able to buy love. Pretty profound, right? Yet the music is clearly happy, while the chorus uses minor chords typically associated with sadness. This contrast highlights the song's compositional subtlety. The latter, And I Love Her, is a breakthrough in sensitivity and softness, a ballad written by Paul, famous for its gentle acoustic guitar tone, and Ringo Starr's soft drumming on the bongos. This song demonstrated the band's immense potential in soft rock, foreshadowing their future diversification in musical styles. The UK and US versions of A Hard Day's Night had significant differences in their track listings. The UK version was purely original, with all 13 songs written by Lennon-McCartney. The US version removed 5 of the Beatles' original songs, leaving only 8 original tracks. United Artists, the US distributor, was eager to release the album before the movie to seize the market, so to make up the length, they added George Martin's instrumental film score to the album. What is this commercial fragmentation? This difference was not just a matter of release strategy. It also reflected the US record company's disregard for the Beatles' artistic integrity in the early days. The UK version was more faithful to the band's creative intent, a pure album of originals. The US version was more like a commercially cobbled together soundtrack. This laid the groundwork for the Beatles to later reclaim control over their work and standardize their releases globally. Remember this so you won't be confused if you buy the wrong version. Below are the highlights of the album's tracks. A Hard Day's Night, the album's opening track and the theme song for the album and the film. The song was primarily written by John Lennon, with assistance from Paul McCartney and produced by George Martin. It is not only one of the Beatles' most iconic songs, but also defined the classic sound of early 60s rock. The inspiration for the song's title came from a quip by Ringo Starr, who described his experience after a long recording session as a hard day's night. Lennon took this as inspiration and quickly wrote the song, with lyrics reflecting the band's hectic life and yearning for love. As the opening song for the film, A Hard Day's Night, accompanying the classic scene of the Beatles being chased by fans, it captured the frenetic atmosphere of Beatlemania. The song opens with a loud, distinctive guitar chord played by George Harrison on his 12-string guitar, instantly grabbing the listener's attention and becoming one of the most famous openings in rock history. The song style blends rock, pop and folk elements with a brisk tempo and a catchy melody. The dual lead vocals of Lennon and McCartney, Lennon taking the verses, McCartney joining in the chorus, add layers of depth. George Harrison's 12-string guitar brings a bright tone, and Ringo's drums and cowbell add vitality, while George Martin adds a piano solo at the end. The lyrical theme is full of energy, reflecting the theme of love within the band's busy life. The lyrics depict a busy man, alluding to the Beatles' crazy life, eager to return home to reunite with his lover after a hard day's work. The lyrics are simple yet sincere, such as, "You know I work all day to get you money to buy you things," resonating with emotion. The single topped both the UK singles chart and the US Billboard Hot 100, selling millions globally, making it one of the Beatles' most popular songs. The song's opening chord and vitality became a symbol of 60s rock, influencing countless later musicians. Its film scene also became an icon of the Beatles' youthful image. It was ranked number 154 on Rolling Stone magazine's 500 Greatest Songs list, and AllMusic called it the Beatles' most exciting early work. A Hard Day's Night, with its iconic opening, catchy melody, and sincere emotion, perfectly showcases the Beatles' musical charm and the spirit of the era. It is not only the highlight of the album, but also the peak of the Beatles' early career. I Should Have Known Better is the second track on the album. The lyrics reflect a mix of regret and romance, possibly inspired by Lennon's personal emotional experiences. The song appears in the film during the segment where the Beatles perform in the train carriage, accompanied by a relaxed atmosphere as they interact with fans, showcasing the band's youthful energy. The song style blends folk, rock and pop elements, with a quick tempo and a clear Mersey beat feel, the Beatles' hometown Liverpool's characteristic beat. Lennon's harmonica solo is one of the song's highlights, adding a unique folk texture, echoing the style of the Beatles' early works like Love Me Do. The lyrical theme expresses regret and anticipation in love, with the narrator realizing he has fallen in love with someone and hoping for a reciprocal response. Lennon sings, "I should have known better with a girl like you, that I would love everything that you do," filled with sincerity and a slight sense of self-reproach. Although not released as a single, the song was widely loved due to the success of the A Hard Day's Night album and film, especially popular among British and American fans. The use of harmonica and the folk rock style influenced other 60s bands, such as the Byrds. Its melody and emotional expression also became representative of the Beatles' early works. AllMusic called it an infectious folk rock gem, praising Lennon's vocals and harmonica for injecting soul into the song. Rolling Stone magazine considered it an underrated highlight of the album.
You're gonna say you love me too.
And I Love Her was primarily written by Paul McCartney, with assistance from John Lennon. With its gentle folk style and romantic sentiment, it is one of the Beatles' most classic early ballads. McCartney wrote the song, reportedly inspired by his then girlfriend Jane Asher. Lennon contributed parts of the melody and lyrics to the middle bridge section. The song appears in the film during a scene of the Beatles rehearsing at a television studio where the soft melody contrasts with the film's humorous pace, highlighting the band's versatility. Song style. This is a pure folk love song, diverging from the Beatles' usual early rock rhythms, showcasing their lyrical and introspective side. The song is centered on the acoustic guitar, with McCartney using a nylon, string guitar, George Harrison playing a classical guitar 12 string, and Ringo Starr using bongos and claves, creating a light Latin flavor. Lennon plays acoustic guitar, and the bass part was done by McCartney. The absence of electric guitars or a traditional drum kit underscores the song's minimalist beauty. McCartney's lead vocal is gentle and sincere, and Lennon and Harrison's harmonies add a warm layer. The lyrics are simple yet deeply affectionate, expressing unconditional devotion and love for the beloved, such as, "And I love her, I give her all my love, that's all I do." The purity of the lyrics and the sincerity of the emotion touched countless listeners. The song is concise and infectious. Although "And I Love Her" was not released as a single in the UK or US, it became widely known due to the success of the album and film, becoming one of the Beatles' most popular ballads. It appeared frequently in live performances and on the radio, beloved by fans. The song's folk style and use of classical guitar inspired lyrical compositions by other 60s bands, such as the Beach Boys and the Byrds. It also demonstrated the Beatles' transition from a purely rock band to a more diversified musical style. AllMusic called it the Beatles' most beautiful early work, praising its simple arrangement and sincere emotion. Rolling Stone magazine listed it as one of the Beatles' best songs, calling it a track that redefined romantic expression in pop music.
Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die, and I love her.
Thank you. Very nice.
Can't Buy Me Love was primarily written by Paul McCartney. As one of the Beatles' most representative singles, it was widely popular for its vibrant rhythm and positive theme. McCartney wrote the song in Paris in early 1964, inspired by his reflections on how true love transcends material possessions. At the time, the Beatles were at the peak of Beatlemania, and the song reflects their thoughts on the contrast between fame and genuine affection. In the film A Hard Day's Night, the song appears during the scene where the Beatles escape from chasing fans and frolic in a field, showcasing their freedom and youthful vigor. It was released as a single in March 1964 UK on the 20th of March, US on the 16th of March, with You Can't Do That as the B-side, and quickly topped both the UK singles chart and the US Billboard Hot 100, becoming one of the Beatles' most successful singles. The song blends rock, pop and R&B elements with a brisk, high-energy rhythm that is short and explosive. It carries a strong Merseybeat style. McCartney sings the lead vocal and plays bass. Lennon and George Harrison play electric guitar, and Harrison contributes the iconic guitar riff. Ringo Starr's drumming is simple and powerful, emphasizing the song's danceability. Without harmonies, McCartney's solo vocal gives the song direct emotional expression. The song adopts an atypical structure, starting with the chorus, Can't Buy Me Love, making the melody catchy and the rhythm tight. The lyrics convey the theme that money cannot buy true love, full of optimism and sincerity, such as, I'll buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel all right, but emphasizing, because I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. The lyrics are simple yet strike directly at the heart. It was recorded on the 29th of January 1964 at Pathé Marconi Studios in Paris, the Beatles' first recording session outside the UK, and later completed with mixing and additional recording on the 25th of February at MI Studios, Abbey Road Studios in London. George Martin used 4-track recording technology, highlighting McCartney's voice and Harrison's guitar riff. The original version of the song experimented with harmonies, but ultimately the solo vocal version was chosen to enhance the directness. McCartney's bass and vocals are the core of the song. Harrison's guitar riff adds a rock texture, and Ringo's drumming drives the sense of urgency in the rhythm. The single sold millions globally, with over 1.4 million copies in the UK and 2 million in the US, making it one of the Beatles' best-selling singles. It remained at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 consecutive weeks. The song's optimistic theme and infectious energy made it a symbol of 60s pop culture, widely used in films, advertisements, and cover versions. It also solidified the Beatles' dominance in the American market. AllMusic called it one of the Beatles' most invigorating singles, praising its simple yet powerful melody and message. Rolling Stone magazine listed it among the 500 greatest songs, number 292, calling it a song that perfectly captures the Beatles' youth and sincerity. It was recorded on the 29th of January, 1964. At Parthat Marconi Studios in Paris, the Beatles' first recording session outside the UK, and later completed with mixing and additional recording on the 25th of February at ME Studios, Abbey Road Studios in London. George Martin used 4-track recording technology, highlighting McCartney's voice and Harrison's guitar riff. The original version of the song experimented with harmonies, but ultimately the solo vocal version was chosen to enhance the directness. McCartney's bass and vocals are the core of the song, Harrison's guitar riff adds a rock texture, and Ringo's drumming drives the sense of urgency in the rhythm. The single sold millions globally, with over 1.4 million copies in the UK and 2 million in the US, making it one of the Beatles' best-selling singles. It remained at the top of the Billboard Hot 100 for 5 consecutive weeks. The song's optimistic theme and infectious energy made it a symbol of 60s pop culture, widely used in films, advertisements, and cover versions. It also solidified the Beatles' dominance in the American market. AllMusic called it one of the Beatles' most invigorating singles, praising its simple yet powerful melody and message. Rolling Stone magazine listed it among the 500 greatest songs, number 292, calling it a song that perfectly captures the Beatles' youth and sincerity. The lyrics express a deep contemplation of love, with the narrator recalling promises shared with a lover and looking ahead to future uncertainties, such as, "You say you will love me if I have to go." The lyrics convey a tone that is both romantic and slightly sorrowful, reflecting the vulnerability and hope within love. Although not released as a single, the song is considered a hidden gem on the A Hard Day's Night album, often praised by fans and critics as one of the most profound tracks on the album. The song's key changes, minor to major and introspective lyrics, influenced the compositions of other musicians in the 60s, foreshadowing the Beatles' later, more complex musical styles. It is also considered one of the peaks of McCartney's early lyrical compositions. AllMusic called it one of the album's most underestimated songs, praising its emotional complexity and melodic elegance. Rolling Stone magazine saw it as a turning point toward maturity in the Beatles' early work, highlighting McCartney's songwriting talent. I'll Be Back is the album's closing track. Primarily written by John Lennon with its melancholic tone and complex harmonic structure, this song stands out among the album's up-tempo tracks, showcasing the depth and emotional complexity of the Beatles' early songwriting. Lennon wrote the song, possibly inspired by his thoughts on insecurity and separation within a romantic relationship. Lennon recalled being inspired by the chord changes in American singer Del Shannon's song Runaway, attempting to write a folk rock piece with a similar emotion. However, I'll Be Back did not appear directly in a scene in the film A Hard Day's Night. As the album's closing track, it adds an introspective ending to the entire album. The song blends folk, rock, and pop elements with a distinct melancholic undertone. The song switches between a minor and a major, creating a sense of emotional tension. The lyrics express a struggle and persistence in love, with the narrator facing a possible separation yet declaring, "I'll be back." such as, you know, if you break my heart I'll go, but I'll be back again. The lyrics merge vulnerability with resilience, showcasing the emotional complexity common in Lennon's writing. The song was recorded at MI Studios' Abbey Road Studios in London, taking one day and resulting in 16 takes. The Beatles experimented with different styles, including a slow waltz and a faster rock version, ultimately choosing the faster version to maintain the album's energy. 4-track recording technology was used, highlighting the warm acoustic guitar tone and the layering of the 3-part harmonies. Lennon's vocals were deliberately processed to be softer, enhancing the song's emotional atmosphere. Lennon's lead vocal and acoustic guitar are the core of the song. McCartney's harmony and bass provide steady support. Harrison's guitar embellishes the melody, and Ringo's drumming remains simple to emphasize the song's emotion. Although not released as a single, I'll Be Back, due to its profound emotion and complex musical structure, is highly praised by fans and critics of the A Hard Day's Night album, often regarded as the album's hidden gem. The song's key changes in emotional depth foreshadowed the Beatles' later, more complex musical styles, influencing the development of folk rock. It also demonstrates Lennon's growth as a songwriter, particularly in expressing personal emotion. It is called the album's most emotionally deep song, praising its complex harmony and introspective lyrics. Rolling Stone magazine views it as a signpost of the Beatles' early transition to maturity, highlighting its musical and emotional sophistication. Let's look at the album cover, the design of which is quite interesting. What was photographer Robert Freeman trying to achieve? He wanted to make this static image look as if it were moving like a film. How did he do it? He took many close-up shots of the 4 members with different expressions, then arranged them in a 4x4G grid, totaling 16 member portraits, like the frames of a film strip. This was an attempt to convey a sense of flowing visual movement. Clever, wasn't it? This is what's called motion in stillness. Another UK says difference. Freeman's design concept was fully realized on the UK album cover, which featured a blue border and precisely displayed the complete grid of 16 headshots. However, similar to the album's track listing, the US cover again became a casualty of commercial considerations. The US version adopted a completely different design, retaining only 4 large headshots of the members set against a red background. Freeman himself said that the US cover design ruined his original idea. See, commercial interest prevailed again. This visual difference is not simply a matter of design choice. It once again confirms the damage inflicted by US distributors on artistic integrity through commercial operations. The visual fragmentation on the cover symbolizes the lack of uniformity in how the band's work was presented across different markets in the early stages, also reflecting the reality that in the music industry at the time, commercial drive often superseded artistic considerations. It's truly frustrating. How big was the impact of A Hard Day's Night? It is a symbol that transcends time. First, the film's groundbreaking techniques, especially the combination of fast-paced editing with musical performance, made it a direct source of inspiration for later music videos. The musical segments in the film were the direct precursor to the music video format of the MTV Golden Age decades later, and Richard Lester is thus hailed as the father of the music video. The MTV era owes him a debt of gratitude. Besides the film techniques, the music on the album also had important ripple effects. The unique jangle sound produced by George Harrison's 12 string guitar directly influenced the American band, the Byrds. This influence was no accident. It formed a crucial causal chain in the history of popular music. The Beatles' British sound entered the US through this film and album, directly inspiring Roger McGuinn to form the Byrds and pioneer the new genre of folk rock. This genre, in turn, influenced American musicians like Bob Dylan and the Beach Boys, forming a positive feedback loop between the British and American music scenes, accelerating the evolution of rock music. Its contribution to film history is also significant. A Hard Day's Night completely broke the outdated mold of traditional rock musical films starring Elvis and others. It proved that a music film could have both commercial value and artistic merit. The film's success set a template for subsequent popular music group films and television shows, such as The Monkees. The film achieved huge commercial success, grossing over $12 million in the United States, and earned widespread critical acclaim. It was ranked as one of the greatest films of the 20th century by the British Film Institute BAFTA and hailed by film critic Andrew Sarris as the Citizen Kane of the jukebox musical. Its enduring charm lies in its perfect sense of rhythm, humour, and precise capture of the spirit of the age, ensuring it remains timeless decades later. Lastly, and most importantly, it is a time capsule, a tribute to an era. The reason A Hard Day's Night is considered an immortal classic is that it perfectly captures the Beatles at the innocent peak of their fame, before the burden of celebrity weighed them down. The joyful, carefree atmosphere shown in the film contrasts sharply with the tired, contemplative expressions on the cover of their next album, Beatles for Sale. A Hard Day's Night therefore serves as a precious time capsule, documenting the Beatles' last easygoing moment before they bid farewell to pure pop stardom and move towards artistic maturity. Its value lies not only in its art, but more so in its irreplaceable significance as a historical document. It left an eternal snapshot of the band beloved by a generation, and the joie de vivre it conveys will never go out of style. The success of A Hard Day's Night was no accident. It was the perfect combination of a period of frenzy, brilliant creation, and innovative production. From its initial commercial motivation to its final artistic achievement, this project uniquely achieved both commercial and artistic success. The film and the album, as two sides of the same artistic coin, mutually enhanced each other and together shaped the Beatles' legend. Their value and influence remain undiminished today, continuing to inspire new generations of musicians, filmmakers, and cultural researchers. The table below summarizes the core innovations and contributions of the A Hard Day's Night project across various dimensions.